All right, wild race today at Makuhari. This is my first race in the ME3 category after upgrading from ME4 after finishing third last week. So there were 57 people starting. I was number 43, so several rows back. And I really wanted to try to pick up spots right off the start there. Didn't look like it worked out very well. I didn't get a chance to do the pre-ride today. It was raining all morning. It started to let up by the 11 o'clock start, but I just knew it was going to be really muddy. And there were a few sections after these opening, wider, grassy areas where just seemed like there was going to be a really slow going, a lot of bottlenecks. So being in front of all that definitely gives a huge advantage throughout the race. There's the first splotch of mud on the camera. Let's see if it clears itself off. I tried to wipe it off a few times throughout the race, but I couldn't tell when exactly it was covered or not. So I think we're probably approaching, let's see, it's clearing up. Yeah, so this wooded area, leaving the grass, and here's where the real mud starts. So first puddle there, and then all this sludge here as the course starts to narrow a bit. More puddles. I don't think my position has changed all that much at this point. Possible I picked up a few spots. But you know, it's amazing that people stayed on their bikes as long as they did here. You see one person jumped off there, a couple people. And I think here I had to jump off, or at least sort of shimmy up. I was bumping into the guy in front of me. So the leaders haven't come around. Oh, there's the first place there. Just came around that corner. So we have to go up a bit here, around and back. So another slip off to the left. And really only 2 or 3 people can ride across here. So we're clustered, but also really stretched out, I think. So there's not that many people behind me. There were a lot of people who tried to ride down and around that shrub to the right, so I guess people had some success with that in the pre-ride. No possibility of that here with it being so crowded. You can see my cadence is 0 here, so I was just running through the whole muddy section. Got to some drier ground here and hopped back on the bike. So with no one on the course, you could probably ride that there. But all it takes is one person to slip up. And everyone behind them has to get off the bike and run. Huge puddle here. I have a couple of spikes on my shoes. Oh, I forgot about that. He fell over and slid down to the left. But without spikes on shoes, it's got to be really hard to run up any of those inclines. So you can just see how spread out the field is already. Thought I had a chance at first of riding around that a little bit, but just no way. I think I shouldered my bike here. Can't see much since my camera's angled towards the ground. This was probably the steepest climb here. It's hard to get a good sense of it from the camera at that angle, but it was rough. And this is still uphill here. So I think most of us just ran up to the top here, and then when it leveled out, we hopped back on the bike. I guess I've probably picked up a few spots by this point. I wasn't really keeping track. In a day like this, I just wanted to get through the race. Being in the top half would be great. Anything above the 43rd start position would have been great. But anyway, just getting through it without an energy would be quite alright. I don't know how much the course has changed since the pre-ride. This is, I guess, probably the 4th race of the day, so a lot of people have ridden through it. So even for people who did the pre-ride, there's a chance that the better routes or angles around the corners that people found first thing in the morning might be not good anymore after the course is so worn down. People were taking this one really wide. I think in later laps I probably took the inner line that this guy in yellow did here. Wasn't really that slick, and it wasn't that tight of a turn, so no real reason to take the wide approach. Last year this was all dry, thick grass. Just a completely different race. The muddy, windy sections were so slow going that I thought it was the best chance to make up ground, to just try to put in more of an effort on those relatively drier patches of grass. I guess here I made up a couple of positions and got closer to this other group in front of me. Still a lot of people coming the other direction, but a lot of people up ahead still. I was using my wheels with Challenge Baby Limas tires today, which are, again, pretty good for light mud at least. They did fine today. I slipped around a bit, had my my foot unclip here and there, but overall I think the handling was about as good as I could have hoped. So the start line was a bit ahead of the start-finish line today, or I should say the starting area. So this first almost full lap isn't getting counted in the lap timer on the right side there of the video. But we're coming around to the finish line in just a few more turns. So I think the lap counter should start then. So it's almost a full 3 laps. 2 laps and then the opening lap, which is a little less than a full lap. So here's the final straightaway. I didn't know if the camera was obstructed there, so I just tried to wipe off anything if it was there. I guess it's about 10 minutes in. My heart rate is still under 170, so that's sustainable, I guess, at this point. We're approaching the muddy technical section again, so I was hoping to get in front of as many people as possible, but looks like I just managed to pass the one there. Because I could have put in a little harder effort to catch these next 3, but probably a little bit more than I wanted to do at that point. Definitely a lot smoother and easier to take these turns when the field has thinned out a bit. Don't have to worry about bumping people or getting knocked around. I jumped on a little sooner this time through. Noticed number 26 there jumped on pretty early while he was still running through the puddle. It wasn't that bad to remount there, so it was probably the better choice. I must have got some mud over the microphone here. It sounds a lot muffled. My heart rate didn't get crazy anywhere, but probably spiked up a bit on those running sections. It felt higher than it really was, I think. I think that time up it was more of a walk than a run up that climb. I noticed there was a grassier, drier section off to the left here, so I tried to take that wide and then carry straight through here, but right here is really slippery. I almost slipped out there, and I noticed, I think on the last lap, someone fell in that same spot. So somehow a groove, I think, had been worn into the mud, and it was just causing people's tires to slide in a way they're not expecting. So I was probably up to around 30th place or so here. Probably picked up 10 to 15 positions or so from where I started. And it's still pretty spread out in front of me. You see just people kind of by themselves or in groups of 2 or 3 here and there throughout the course. So obviously a sort of a top 10 finish would have been way out of reach for me. So it's definitely a different mindset than being out at the front of the race and trying to get a top 3 spot. Instead, it's just sort of fun and motivating to try to chase down 1 or 2 people here or there when you can and pick up as many positions as possible. So the way the upgrades work, you really have to get a top 3 finish in the lower category to move up. So you know that everyone in this race who's at ME3 is good enough to get a top 3 finish in an ME4 category race. And I was only just able to do that last week after 2 or 3 years of trying. So everyone's obviously a pretty strong rider. And on a day like today with so much mud, it takes a little bit of the fitness element out of it. A lot comes down to luck, I think. Handling skills are obviously important, but there's only so much you can do in the mud. This is a rider here that I was going head-to-head with a bit last year in the ME4 category. I had some fans cheering for me, I guess. Thought I was going to get ahead of him, but just when I pulled up, it looks like he noticed I was there and put on, stepped on the gas. I ended up taking some really strange angles through some of these turns. There were areas of drier grass, and I thought that maybe I could preserve more speed on those, and then just take a more awkward or tighter turn, or maybe go really wide through the turn, or sort of cut through to the opposite side. And there were other times when it ended up being faster to just take the muddier, more inside path. I was never quite sure which was the right approach. So putting in a little more effort again here in the dry spot. Wanted to try to catch up to these two guys that I was with back at those turns. And another one or two up ahead. Checking for mud again. So I had some surges in the grassy section here, up to 500-600 watts there. But it's interesting with so much of the slow going through the mud sections and hopping off the bike and running, the average power and the normalized power for the whole race was actually pretty low. It was very sort of uneven efforts throughout the race. think the whistle was blowing because someone was on the ground. I think I had a chance to try that route off to the right there, but I didn't bother. I was doing fine with this approach, so just stuck with it. Hopped on the bike a little earlier this time. So the guy in yellow sort of take a couple steps up and then slide back down. Everyone's just caked in mud. Even without falling, there's so much sort of splatter from the tires. I was running there, so it looks like that was faster than trying to ride through like the guy in yellow. Kind of wish I had a rear camera for a race like this, just to see what's going on behind me. Although I guess with all the dirt and mud being kicked up from my rear wheel, it would have been probably hard to see anything. A lot of near falls like that one there. In most cases, I was able to unclip my foot and stable myself before actually falling over. Here's where I thought that inside approach was probably better than the outside. Though I think I lost ground to the guy in white up there. So I don't know, maybe it was faster out there. Maybe I was just more tired than he was. couple of minutes left. There aren't that many people within sight. This guy in front of me and another one a few seconds ahead of him. Didn't look like we were likely to catch many other people, though. I was planning to hop on the bike at the top and ride down, but the guy in front of me ended up sort of sliding right in front. So I had to quickly squeeze on the brakes, and I don't know, I ended up just falling back a bit. A few more people within closing distance, though. One of them running. I think that was a woman rider, so not in our category. So 3 people ahead of me here. I was thinking I probably had enough in my legs to make an effort at least. I thought maybe if I kept right on their back wheel, I could overtake 1 or 2 of them in the final straightaway. So I was trying just to make up a little bit of ground here. So not bad, about where I thought I should be. Probably only a chance to overtake 1 of them, though, not both. My one real fall, just a couple of turns away from the final straightaway. I got up pretty quickly, didn't lose much time, but it was just enough where there's just no chance to catch up here. So this is the last tight turn, and then you really need to be accelerating coming out of here. So just not happening. But it was a really fun race. I think I finished 20th overall, so pretty happy with that for my first race at this category. Was able to make up 20 positions or so. I think a lot of that was thanks to the weather. I just had pretty good luck in not falling too many times. Yeah, great race. Looking forward to the next one. Hopefully some better weather.